Hi everyone, welcome to week 5 in your paragraphs group. Let's just have a quick recap on some of our learning intentions, shall we? So in this group, we're learning how to organize our ideas in our writing. And to be successful, we should be using paragraphs that group ideas together. We should be missing a line between paragraphs, whether it's handwriting in your book when you miss a line, or whether you press the enter or the return key to miss a line when you're typing online. To be able to sequence your paragraphs in a way that makes sense, paragraphs that have a beginning, a middle, and an end, or following the peel method that we've been talking about. Sometimes in nonfiction text, use subheadings or topic sentences to help, and then using the appropriate linking words between your paragraphs. We'll look a bit more in depth in that later on in the slides. All right, let's have a look at this poster. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger just to recap on some of the things that were in last week's slide. So for this activity, it was Group B's task, I think, where they had to organize the ideas so that they flowed from beginning to end. I had some really neat discussions around this with my group, and we figured out that in a text it has the introduction, which is obviously this part here, and then it's got 3 paragraphs. We can see paragraph 1 here, paragraph 2 here, and paragraph 3 starting from here. And then we've got the conclusion at the end. So there's a bit of the answers for you if you didn't go through that. But what I wanted to focus on really is that these green points are all part of how they have been stated in the introduction. So you can see here it says students should only walk, ride, or use public transport to get to school. Being active is better for our health. It would ease traffic on our roads and reduce pollution. So if we're looking at this first point here, it says, first of all, walking or riding to school would improve the health of our students. Brilliant. That's exactly the first point that it stated in the introduction. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but if we go on to the second point, it says, furthermore, if students were not driven to school, there would be less traffic on the road. Again, it links right here to the second point that's mentioned in the introduction. And then lastly, point 3 or paragraph 3, it says, additionally, with fewer cars on the road, we would be reducing toxic gases that are polluting the environment. So here we go, reducing pollution. So you can see that each paragraph explains each of the points that were made in the introduction. When we look at the conclusion, as you can see, there are many reasons why students should not be driven to school. We could improve everyone's health and well-being, reduce traffic, and help our environment. So that restates those 3 main points. So that's quite easy when you're looking at a text and trying to put it back together, is to have a look at the introduction to find out about the different points and to put them in order. All right, let's carry on. So now that we've recapped there, we're going to recap a little bit on the TIP-TOP acronym and how to use that really effectively. So watch this video on that, which will help. Remember that we write a new paragraph each time we change the time, the place, the topic, or the person. Okay, and those 4 things might depend whether you're writing a narrative or a persuasive text or an information report or whatever it might be. So we're going to use that information about the peel and the tip-top and put it all together by practicing one of our own. I've linked some different websites here that you can go and do some research on to help you, because our overall theme is a health and well-being focus, getting through COVID-19. Click on the pictures and they will take you to the websites. I have given an example one here. It's a very rough draft example. I wasn't going to type it all out, but this is my very messy handwriting, so my first draft. I thought some possible ideas that might link to this overall topic might be around anxiety, recovery from trauma, mental health, health and safety, well-being, relationships, or hygiene. So the one I focused on in my very rough example is anxiety. Anxiety after COVID-19. This is my introduction. Okay, so I've started by saying anxiety is a common and natural feeling that everybody experiences at some point in their lives. Amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, students may have heightened feelings of anxiety due to 1. Being removed from their usual social interactions, 2. The fear of falling behind in classwork, or 3. The fear of becoming infected with the virus themselves. So those 3 things are going to be my 3 paragraphs. You can see that I've popped them in the introduction, and then in paragraph 1, paragraph 2, and paragraph 3, I've explained each of those in order. I did pop a little note here that after my introduction, I could further define anxiety and maybe explain some of the symptoms or feelings that people get when they have anxiety. So that's just another option if you wanted to make yours a bit longer and a bit more in depth, which is always a good idea. So my first paragraph here links to my first point. I said being removed from social interactions. Firstly, students may feel disconnected from the rest of the world, particularly with their friends. They may show this anxiety through their behavior, such as, and then because I've started explaining, I'd go on and I'd give an example, and then at the end of this paragraph, I'd try and either link it back to what I was saying or have an ending sentence or link it to the next paragraph. I did make some notes for myself that I could have gone on to talk about maybe having panic attacks or doing some work or chore avoidance where we really don't feel like doing anything and all we want to do is blob on the couch or on the bed. So those are how some of our behaviors might change if we're feeling a little bit anxious. My second paragraph goes on to explain about the fear of falling behind in classwork. So I've said, in addition, the fear of falling behind in schoolwork and not reaching desired expectations by the mid or end of year assessments can be worrisome. Students may feel, and then I've said to go on, you would explain, give an example, make a link, and I said you might be feeling really overwhelmed, feeling useless, feeling stressed. Maybe your sleeping patterns have changed. You might not be able to sleep. You might be sleeping more. You might be more hungry. You might be less hungry. All those sorts of things do come into it. Right, then I go on to my last point, which was the fear of actually becoming infected with the virus itself. So I've said, furthermore, with the imminent return back to school, many students may be anxious of contracting the virus themselves. So I've said give an example and link to this. So I might talk about hygiene and those sorts of things. And then I had another idea. I could explain some of the school procedures that are going to help subside some of this anxiety. So I might do a separate paragraph here before my conclusion, just explaining what the schools are doing to put minds at ease and how we are handling hygiene and those sorts of things when we do come back to school. So all in all, there are many reasons that students may be feeling anxious upon their return to school. It is our own duty to ensure that we prioritise their mental health and physical safety in terms of hygiene for all. I said I could have restated the 3 main points here as well. So obviously this is a very rough draft. There's a lot more work to be done to it, as you can see with all my notes. But have a go, choose your topic here, do a little bit of research from one of these. The one I started using here was about anxiety for kids' health, but there are lots of different ones. This one's about relationships here and here. There's about mental health, more relationships on this one. There's about hygiene and education. So all on there, have a go. These slides here just give you some sentence starters that you could use. I found using this one quite good as well. And then for my ending, this one here helped too. And some of the time ones help. I used furthermore and I think in addition. And in my ending, I used all in all. So use these resources to help you. Your task is outlined here. It's up to you what kind of text you would like to do, whether it's an information report, an explanation, a persuasive, or a narrative. Just whichever one you are doing, remember to look up on the structure. And to be successful, you'll need to clearly show your introduction and introduce your main points or your characters. So just like in that example one with the students not driving to school, I would like to see your 3 main points in your introduction. If you are doing a narrative, then you would be introducing your main characters. Then having 3 clear paragraphs that follow the peel structure, or if you're doing a narrative, that have appropriate breaks to follow the tip-top structure, okay? And then to have a conclusion or a resolution that relates back to the main points or the problem or back to your introduction. And then each paragraph must be shown in a return or entered space. So pop in your follow-up task here. This is where you do your typing. If you need another slide, then go ahead and make another slide. I'll just move myself over a little bit here. And then this is a bit of a reminder to help you check if you have followed that success criteria. So if you're doing a narrative, see if you can highlight or change the font color of the different paragraphs when you do change the time or place or topic or person. And if you're doing one of the others, see if you can choose a paragraph or even every paragraph if you'd like to see if you have each time the point, the explanation, the example, and the link. Remember, that doesn't necessarily mean only 4 sentences in your paragraph. You might have 17 sentences in your paragraph. The paragraph is however long it takes you to explain and get your point across, okay? As long as you're not changing the time, place, topic, or person. As soon as one of those things changes, you should be popping in a new paragraph. All right, so once you've done that, have a little reflection here. Think about how you went according to your success criteria, and have a think again about what rubric level you might be at. For some reason it's disappeared off here, but I'll add them on shortly. Then we'll follow up with your teacher. We do hope that you get these tasks done relatively quickly this time round. These topics here are also going to help when we start looking at our wraps for our rehutai, because we'll be doing it around this topic as well. So 2 things all into one. Have a really good go. See if you can get done by Tuesday or Wednesday when your teacher would like to meet you. See ya!